Hi. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be bookish content. For today's video, we are going to go over my 2022 reading statistics and show you every single book that I read. I do this every year. It's a real fun catch up and it's a great way to start the new year. I love reflecting on the past year. In a way, I love reflecting on the books and the books I read, the movies I watched, the TV shows I watched. So this will be like a whole series of videos. So, I have my notes. Let's jump right into it. First and foremost, how many books did I read this year? I set the goal of 30 books, which is about 20 books less than what I usually do, because I usually do 50. However, I knew this was going to be kind of a harder year, just because the job I have now is more demanding than jobs in the past. And I've also noticed that I've been reading less since leaving college, which is really weird to me. And I had a lot of things planned for the year, so I knew I couldn't sit down and read. And I was correct, because how many books did I read this year? I did make it to my goal. I did read 30 books. However, in order to do that, I had to read the last 2 books on December 31st. I literally finished the last volume of Death Note like right before the clock struck midnight, whatever the past tense is, and then I quickly read a children's book so I can meet that goal. I had quite the year in 2022. I had a lot of ups and downs with my mental health. And the last half of the year was hard. So despite not reading as much as I used to, I'm actually really proud that I was able to achieve 30 books. There are 2 other books that I read in 2022 that I have not finished, so I am not counting it towards this goal, and I am not counting them towards any of the future statistics, but I have started Arabian Nights. I did not get very far. This was supposed to be like my big book of the year, but like I could not get myself to read it, so I unfortunately did not finish it. And then the other book I started in 2021 and still have yet to finish is Mommy Dearest by Christine. Is it Christine or Christina? I think it's by Christine Crawford. Again, they will not be counted for any of the future statistics that we're going to talk about. Now, moving on from my other statistics, I'll put down like below or anywhere on the screen a pie chart because y'all know I love my silly little infographics. So we're just going to go down the line I have in my notes. The first one I want to discuss is my own books versus the library books. I do make use of my local library, and I made a lot of use of it this year. So out of all 30 books I read, only 12 of them I actually own, and then the other 18 were library books. So less than half of these books are sitting on my shelves right now. And moving on from that, I did read them in different formats. Not only do I make use of the physical books at the library, but I also make use of the Libby app. And I also just got the Audible app, so I've been making use of that towards the end of the year. So for the next So for the next thing we're going to discuss, it's going to be how I read the book, whether that's a physical copy, an ebook, or an audiobook. 18 of them I read as a physical copy. 10 of them were ebooks, and then 2 of those books were audiobooks. And usually I'm not a rereader, but I know I've been discussing it the past couple of years because every year I reread at least 1 book. And this year I did 2. I only reread 1 book, so I'm not going to bother making a pie chart for that. But the 1 book I reread was This Is the Rope by Jacqueline Woodson, and I cannot for the life of me remember where I read it the first time and why. I didn't even know it was a reread until I started reading it and could recognize everything I was seeing. So, how many pages did I read, not including Arabian Nights and Mommy Dearest? I read a total of 7,613. I got this number from the copies from the editions that I personally was using because I know sometimes Goodreads has a page count. However, most of the books I was reading did not match that page count, so I would use my own to make it as accurate as possible. Moving on from that, what was the shortest book I read? The shortest book I read was actually my last read of the year, and that is Be a Good Ancestor by Leona Prince and Gabrielle Prince at 25 pages. And then the longest book I read this year was Crank by Ellen Hopkins at 537 pages, meaning my average page count this year was 253.77 pages. So for the yearly wrap up on Goodreads, they also tell you the least popular book and the most popular book you read. It's all based on how many people have reviewed it, whether it's like an actual review or just a star rating. So according to Goodreads, the least popular book I read was Be a Good Ancestor by Leona and Gabrielle Prince. Only 322 people reviewed it. The most popular book I read was Animal Farm by George Orwell, and this had over 5,110,000 reviews. Next, we're going to discuss my star ratings. I rate my books out of 5 stars just like on Goodreads. However, I really don't like that Goodreads doesn't let you do halvesies, because a lot of these, sometimes a book is not a 3-star read. It's better than a 3-star read, but then it's not exactly a 4-star read either. So I like to do halvesies for my books, and sometimes I even do like a 0.25 or 0.75. Going from best to worst, 5 books were 5-star reads, 5 books were 4.75 star reads, 1 book was a 4.5 star read, 6 books were a 4-star read, 2 books were a 3.75 star read, 3 books were a 3.5 star read, 4 books were 3-star reads, 1 book was a 2.75 star read, 2 books were a 2.5 star read, and then 1 book was a 2-star read, and not a single book was a 1-star or a 1.5 star read. So my average rating this year is 3.9 stars. I also took note of how many male authors I read from versus female authors. So out of 30 books, 20 of these are by male authors, and then 10 of them are by female authors. And the last thing I want to go over before I list off every single book I read was what countries I read from this year. It is a personal goal of mine to read at least 1 book from every country in the world. So I do like to keep note of how many books I'm reading from America versus Japan versus this, or this. And it's always exciting when I read from a new country. However, given the year and given how few books I've read, unfortunately I did not read from a new country this year. I've only read from 3 countries this year, and those countries are the United States, Japan, and England. I read 18 books from the United States, 9 from Japan, and 4 from England. And those are the statistics, so let's list off every single book I read in 2022. Death Note Black Edition Volume 1 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, Animal Farm by George Orwell, Crank by Ellen Hopkins, Death Note Black Edition Volume 2 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, The End of the Fucking World by Charles Forsman, I Am Not Okay With This by Charles Forsman, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, Death Note Black Edition Volume 3 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, Orange the Complete Collection Volume 1 by Ichigo Takano, Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster, Orange the Complete Collection Volume 2 by Ichigo Takano, The Call of the Wild by Jack London, Amira's Picture Day by Reem Faruqi, Miriam at the River by Jane Yolen, This is the Road, A Story from the Great Migration by Jacqueline Woodson, The Color Collector by Nicholas Solis, Death Note Black Edition Volume 4 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, Ground Zero by Ellen Gratz, Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly, Junji Ito's Cat Diary, Yan and Mu by Junji Ito, Ophi's Ghost by Justina Ireland, Carrie by Stephen King, Harvey Potter's Balloon Farm by Jardine Nolan, A Day with Wilbur Robinson by William Joyce, Nicholas St. North and the Battle of the Nightmare King by William Joyce, Death Note Black Edition Volume 5 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, The Christmas Source and the Winter Witch by Tom Fletcher, Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien, Death Note Black Edition Volume 6 by Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata, and Be a Good Ancestor by Leona and Gabrielle Prince. And there you have it, all 30 books I read in the month, not the what, in the year of 2022. Guys, do I have reading goals for 2023? I actually do. So the goal for 2023 is that every month I want to read at least one of my owned books. I want to read at least 1 ebook. I want to read at least 1 book from a country I've never read from before. And I want to listen to at least 1 audiobook. So the month, for example, for the month of January, I already have some books picked out. I'm reading 2 books right now, the audiobook and my owned book. The owned book's in another room, so I can't grab it, but the owned book is Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt, and then the audiobook is The Hiding Place by Corey Ten Boom. For an ebook, I'm going to be reading something called Sempre. I cannot remember what the author's name is. And for a book from another country, I picked out Chronicles in Stone. I don't remember the author's name, but he is from Albania. I also want to read a lot of manga too. I have Spy Family on the list because y'all know I love that show. And I want to read Demon Slayer before it starts premiering again in April. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll see. Then I actually want to read my Avatar The Last Airbender comics just because the Azula comic's coming out this June, and yeah, I haven't touched these comic books that I've owned for the past 2 years. And then I would also love to read the Promised Neverland manga. I also want to finish Arabian Nights and Mommy Dearest. I'm getting really tired of Mommy Dearest. I should just DNF it at this point, but I'm so determined to finish it because I'm over halfway through it. And then of course for my big book of the year, it's going to be Gone with the Wind. And there you have it. That's basically it for this video. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. And without further ado, I'm going to order McDonald's. And peace out, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao a tutti.